अस्सलामुअलैकुम वरहमतुल्लाहि वबरकातुहू रब्बि इश्रह ली सदरी व यस्सिर ली अमरी वहलुल उक़्दतम मिन लिसानी यफ़क़हू क़ौली अम्मा बाद. In this class, we are going to discuss the dependent variables, independent variables, exogenous, endogenous variables, and construct. Because a bundle of researchers, when they start their research, they are at a point and struggling a lot when they encounter different terms like dependent variable and what is the exogenous variable, what is independent variable, what does it mean, the construct. So this lecture is all about the variables and definition of the variables, and yes, after that, what are the possible synonymous for these variables? Let's begin. And if there is any query regarding your research, regarding any of your data analysis, you can write me an email and you can get the assistance from my side. Research construct, an abstraction that used to represent a phenomena that's not directly measurable. Abstraction means dealing with the ideas instead of events. Means to say, if you are dealing with the events, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 10, 20 events, that means that events are countable and you can measure the events. But here, this is about dealing with the ideas that used to represent a phenomena and not directly measurable. So ideas that are representing the phenomena, ideas cannot be measurable. That means we are going to call these ideas which are not measurable as construct. And the other definition of construct is, a construct is a theoretical concept, theme, or idea based on empirical observations. So again, the thing is that a theoretical concept, theme, any idea which based on the empirical observations, it is a variable that is usually not directly measurable. So construct is also a variable, but it cannot be directly measurable. Then research variables. What is research variable? A variable in research simplifies refers to a person, a place, a thing, or phenomena. What is the variable? Variable refers to a person, place, thing, and phenomena that you are trying to measure in some way and can be measurable. So construct is not measurable, but the research variable is a person, a place, a thing, a phenomena, anything that you are trying to measure in any way, but it can be measured. That means it's a variable. The quality of variable is variable can be measurable, but the construct is not measurable. Now, independent variable or exogenous variable. Let's begin with the definition of independent variable or exogenous variable. Then we will get the clarity what is independent variable and what is the role of independent variable in our research. Independent variable is the variable that is not dependent on other variables in the model. Means to say, this variable will stand independently in the model. And this variable have its strong grounds and will not get impact from other variables in the models. Means this variable has influence to other variables but not get the influence from other variables. Again, an exogenous variable let me make you clear for one thing. Independent variable and exogenous, independent variable and exogenous variable are the synonymous of independent variable. You can also use exogenous variable. You can use independent variable. Okay. And exogenous variable is a variable that is independent and is not influenced by other variables in the model. Okay, let's go through the synonymous available in this model. Explanatory variable, predictor variable, controlled variable, manipulated variable, input variable, right-hand side variable, regressor, covariant, exposure variable, and risk factor. Any of the name, if you see in your model or in your research, or phrase the name as a control variable, what are the control variable in your model? So you can respond as an independent variable. I do have control variable 3, 4, 4 or 1, 2, 3, whatsoever control variable you do have in your model, you can. What are the risk factors? Risk factors, again, independent variable. Exposure variables, the variables that are making the difference to expose other variables, means to say dependent or mediator variables. The variables that are exposing other variables called exposure variable. So let's move to another slide. Dependent variable or endogenous variables. A dependent variable or endogenous variable is a variable that change in response to another variable or independent variable. See, in our model, we do have dependent variable, we do have independent variable. Previously, we discussed, in the previous slide, we discussed independent variable. Independent variable is standing alone and not getting the impact or not getting the influence from other variables. But this variable plays a role to influence other variables. Okay. So that means the dependent variable is the one that is getting the influence from other variables. This variable observe the changes in the response of another variable. Let's suppose we do have independent variable and dependent variable in our model. So the dependent variable is the one variable that is observing the change in the response of independent variable in any of the variation, in any of the condition. In independent variable, the dependent variable is directly getting the impact. Okay, and endogenous variable is also a synonymous of dependent variable. Let's go through the other synonymous too. Response variable, outcome variable, left-hand sided variable, measured variable, explained variable, experimental variable, output variable. Okay, you also can use the word input variable as a independent variable. You also can use the word input variable, and in the response whatsoever is coming out called output. So the dependent variable is also called output variable. Experimental variable, the variable that is giving the response in the experiment. So that variable is experimental variable, because this variable is the one that is actively giving the response in terms of your research. The dependent variable is giving the response, that means it's experimental variable. Explained variable, this variable can be explained, have its variations, terms, and variance in its nature. So that means explained variable. Measured variable, this variable can be measured. Okay, so left hand side variable, this variable always comes at left hand side in the model. Whenever we draw a model, independent variable always comes at right side and it comes at left hand side, and output variable, outcome variable, response variable. So these variables, this is called dependent independent variable construct. If there is any ambiguity, any question, you can always contact to me, naima.anleeb@outlook.com, and ask your queries, raise your queries anytime. I will be very happy and I will be available to respond your queries. Because my purpose is to expand research. My purpose is to guide as much as I can do, because I observe a bundle of students, researchers, they are struggling their research. So my purpose is to overcome, my purpose is to pave their journey from my side. Thank you so much. Jazakallah khair. We'll see you in next class.